guys, so today I want to tell you all about the 7 albums that changed my life. I tried to narrow this down as best as I can. Obviously there's loads of artists that have like really inspired me and probably changed my life in one way or another, but I tried to narrow it down to like the top 7. I tried to do 5, but then I thought I was only sticking to like one genre if I only used my top 5, and I'd like to be a bit more broad. I don't know what the word is. You can probably guess what number 1's going to be. It's not going to be like the big reveal, but if you watch my channel you'll probably know number 1 already. Number 7 is What Are You So Scared Of by Tonight Alive. So I found this band, I think it was 5 years ago, and they were opening up for Never Shout Never, and I met Jenna McDougall downstairs, and this band was so different to me because obviously they can be compared to Paramore, but it was a completely different experience for me because the first time I ever heard their music I was seeing them live, so that was really different. And then I met them afterwards. I didn't know who the rest of the band was, so I only spoke to Jenna, but obviously that was the first time I'd ever even seen any of them. Yeah, she was really nice, and then I became a really big fan, and I even tweeted her a couple of times and she even replied when I covered the song on YouTube. I think I've covered 2 or 3 of the songs, but she definitely replied to 1 or 2. So she's just really nice and really cool to her fans. I love seeing the acoustic performances. I love how much her voice has improved. So with Tonight Alive, the experience I have is kind of like I've been through it with them in a way. It kind of like makes me like a proud parent, and that was the first album of theirs I ever bought, and I actually bought it off her and immediately got it signed. I bought it like right there after I watched them. I think it was the second time I watched them. I think I've watched them like 5 times. And this album also has bonus tracks of acoustic versions, so it's 14 songs and then 4 acoustic versions. So I've got that signed. The only one I don't have signed is Limitless, because by this point it was too big to kind of just be waiting backstage for people. Not backstage, but by the merch. And then the other side was before Limitless. Was it before Limitless? Yeah, it was before Limitless. Alright, see how bad my memory is? So yeah, the other side, I got that signed by almost all of them, I think. I'm not sure whether that was... This might have been when I saw them at Slam Dunk, and then this is their EP, which I probably got signed when I met them at Pulp. So yeah, amazing album, amazing vocals. It's obviously great to see a female vocalist, especially in that kind of genre. I think they are quite pop punk, but they also stray away from things in that new album Limitless. I think Drive is probably my favourite song. It's got a bit more of a pop thing. Number 6 is Lady Gaga's Fame album. It might sound really weird, but it did genuinely change me, because since I was about 12 I'd pretty much only listened to rock music of some kind, like mainly Green Day obviously, and My Chemical Romance, followed by Panic! At the Disco, that kind of stuff. And then I was into Lady Gaga a little bit, and I mean Katy Perry a little bit. I loved her old acoustic stuff. That first album was really good. And Lady Gaga, she basically taught me that there was more than rock. I already knew that, I mean to an extent, but made me a bit more ladylike and enjoy girly clothes and stuff like that. She showed me like creative things to do with your makeup, and she introduced me to David Bowie. I already knew who he was like a little bit, but I pretty much only knew him from the film Labyrinth, and then when I really got into him I saw how unique and amazing he was, and then he changed my life a bit. So yeah, I want to thank Lady Gaga for introducing me to David Bowie and getting me more into 70s music and getting me more into pop music and different genres and stuff like that. She also has an amazing voice. Number 5 is the History Mix like album by Michael Jackson. You could say it was more Thriller by Michael Jackson, but I had the History album video tape, and I would watch that all the time, and I became really obsessed with it. I kept trying to imitate him, imitate his dances, imitate his singing, and that was when I started going to singing lessons. And it wasn't really lessons, it was more, it was a pop group thing. So you'd go in and kind of do some vocal warm-ups, and then I learned a lot about music from there. You kind of sang in a group, and then you sang some solo pieces if you wanted to learn a solo piece on your own and maybe just get some feedback on it. And then at one of the end of term like performances we did, I sang You Are Not Alone by Michael Jackson, and that was the first time I ever performed in front of people. Michael Jackson definitely changed my life, big time. Number 4 is From Under the Cork Tree by Fall Out Boy. I got into them after I got into Green Day and My Chemical Romance, but they were for a long time probably the perfect music in my opinion. Like Green Day and My Chemical Romance were my favourite bands for slightly different reasons, like their songs touched me more, or I was more into their like what they stood for and stuff like that. But Fall Out Boy to me was kind of like I could listen to their songs on repeat like for just forever. From Under the Cork Tree is my favourite album personally. That's the album that got me into them. When I first saw Sugar Going Down on TV, I would like just keep rewinding it and just rewinding it and rewinding it. His vocals really inspire me, Patrick Stump's vocals, because he has more of a soulful thing. They even covered a Michael Jackson song, so that kind of tied in together for me. My love for like soulful kind of like R&B or pop music, and my love for pop punk, they just kind of joined it together really well. And I got to see them live quite a few times. The Fall Out Boy gig was my first proper gig like that I hadn't gone to with my parents, just to kind of tag along. I went there on my own with my friend, and beforehand we like painted our nails black and everything, and it's just a really good memory for me. So even though I had really bad anxiety at the time when I was like physically sick at the gig, it was still one of the best gigs I've ever been to. So yeah, I feel so proud that I got to see Fall Out Boy during that tour as well, because it was so last minute. I was like begging my mum to get me a ticket on eBay, and they kept like being grabbed by other people, and she even wrote to them and wrote to one of the people and was like, is there any way we can lower the price a little bit, because like she's dying to go, my 12 or 13-year-old daughter, and it's her birthday and stuff. And they ended up giving it us for a bit of a lower price that we could afford. Number 3, it's hard to pick these top 3 in the right order. Number 3 is Blurry Face by 21 Pilots. This one's really recent. Obviously all the rest of them have been between the ages of 8 and 19, and I'm 23 now, and I've recently discovered 21 Pilots, and it's just, they've really brought my obsession with music and musicians back to life. I haven't felt this way about a band since maybe Pierce the Veil when I was like 17 or 18. Yeah, maybe Pierce the Veil. And I'm just completely obsessed with them. It's an amazing album. It's so unique. It has a bit of a pop punk feel. It has a bit of a folky feel. It has rap in it. It's just so heartfelt and artistic. And I just can't say enough good things about Blurry Face. It's completely changed me. It's brought my love for music back even stronger. Obviously I never stopped loving music, but yeah, it's just like something to be excited for when they do the next tour, because they're still pretty new. Like, this is only the 2nd album, and I love the style. I love the way they express themselves through fashion and everything, and it's just, I think I'm so happy I found this band. Number 2 is 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge by My Chemical Romance. This album taught me not to be afraid and to be myself, and this was the first album that I ever went and bought myself. It won't have been technically my money, because it was, obviously I was like 12 years old. Also, I'm pretty sure that Frank Aero was my first love, so thank you for that, Frank Aero. He's just so beautiful. Anyway, My Chemical Romance, every album they made was so good in my opinion. Like, every album they made was different and interesting, and it was just crazy how they kept doing that over and over again. I still remember seeing the video for the first time for Na 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 came out, and it was just so crazy because they'd been gone for what felt like a really long time, and they came back so strong, and that album was so good. And I saw them twice during that tour, so I have some good memories of that as well, going with my friend Hannah, getting all like dressed up and cutting up our sleeves and stuff like that. And we got to front row, I think, or second to front row at the MEN, seeing them, and when the curtain dropped and I saw my idols, it was just like such a good feeling. So yeah, My Chemical Romance, 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge. I think every song is like 10 out of 10, other than Interlude, because it's an interlude. And the number 1 album is obviously American Idiot by Green Day. If it wasn't for Green Day, I would 100% not be the person I am today. You could say that My Chemical Romance could have eventually been the first band that got me back into music, but after I started singing and stuff like that when I was about 8 years old, between the ages of like 10 and 11, I kind of felt like music wasn't as interesting as I thought it was, and I started doing drama instead. And it was just because basically I wasn't looking in the right places, obviously because I was 10. I didn't really know things about like the internet, and I was just pretty much watching MTV. And then I started taking guitar lessons because of watching like a Lindsay Lohan film, Freaky Friday, where she's playing guitar, and I thought it was really cool. And then the people in the class introduced me to Green Day, and I completely fell in love, and I felt like so attached to this band almost immediately. It took me about 3 years to finally get to see them live, and that was awesome. I've probably seen them live 4 or 5 times now, and I always try and get there really early and make a day out of it and wait outside all day and get really close to see them. And Billie Joe Armstrong is just my idol. Like, he means a lot to me, and it sounds really sad because I've never met him. Some people are probably rolling their eyes thinking, what's wrong with you? But yeah, he means a lot to me. He's a really inspiring person. He's a great music writer. He doesn't try to be perfect. He's way better at guitar than me, but he still kind of just writes what sounds good rather than and what he feels and what he wants to write. He got me interested in politics, he got me interested in religion. Obviously they are my favourite band, and Jesus of Suburbia is my favourite song of all time. That song just completely changed my life because it introduced me to a whole new world. A whole new world. Anyway, I'm going a bit quiet because I can hear my parents like walking around. They're getting a bit anxious now. I tell them to stay downstairs when I'm recording because I get like weird talking to a camera when I can hear people outside hearing me talking to myself. Anyways, so they are my 7 songs that completely changed my life. I'd recommend you seriously checking these out, not just listening to a 30-second clip on iTunes of one of the songs. I mean, like, buying these albums and appreciating them with them. And while you're at it, buy my mixtape, bro. I'm just gonna say that in every video from now on. Okay, thank you very much for watching this video. All my links are in the description. I've got my EP on there, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat and stuff. I'm thinking about doing a Snapchat Q&A. If you want to follow me on there, I will hopefully be doing a Snapchat Q&A soon, and I will see you soon.